But it's quite dangerous because a lot of criminals and psychopaths can be put in this fall under this bracket, because even though they may commit certain crimes and offenses, they see everyone else in the world as messed up or fucked up. So everyone in the world needs to get sorted out, but not them. That sort of thing. And it's a very dangerous position to be at, because there's no remorse for their actions as such. So
Yeah.
welcome back to another episode, guys.
Yeah.
6:50 in the morning. What's the date today?
13th.
13th December. And we come back. We come to you with another episode of Transactional Analysis. And I guess on the last episode, we did say we are going to talk about the life positions. So today, that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, Prince, I don't know if you want to start by just telling us what the life positions are, and then we can just have a quick discussion about them.
Yeah. So like the 4 life positions are basically based on your childhood and the conclusions you come to, the how you view yourself and how you view others. So in a brief nutshell, the 4 life positions are: I'm not okay, you're okay. Let me just get them up so I don't mess it up. I'm not okay, you're okay. I'm not okay, you're not okay. I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm okay, you're okay. So so early on in childhood, every child concludes I'm not okay, and that happens because of I guess when a child is young, they're unable to understand cause and effect. And so when they do get admonished by their parents, they internalize that as something must not be okay with me, and therefore they reach a conclusion, I'm not okay, according to transactional analysis theory. And a child of a healthy parent would then conclude that I'm not okay and you're okay, and that's the first life position. And then it goes on to the other life positions, which is I'm not okay, you're not okay, which is when a child has it says this is the universal position of early childhood, being the infant's logical conclusion from the situation of birth and infancy. There is okayness in this position because stroking is present. Again, stroking is the approval, or kind of like, approval. How would you define stroking?
Yeah, kind of like the constant reassurance or approval from the mother from birth. So I guess it's like that signaling of comfort that the person is trying to seek elsewhere when they become adults as well.
Yeah.
In their child,
Yeah. So so this child concludes I'm not okay, you're not okay, because I guess the child had some stroking to begin with, but then that stroking soon stopped. So the child then concluded I'm not okay.
I guess it's kind of like because of that inconsistency in the stroking that was being present or being given to the child. The child kind of concludes that the actual parents are not okay because they're not providing this stroking. So the child then has a worldview, grow up to have a worldview if they stay in this position of like something is wrong with me, but then the world is also like a messed up place kind of thing.
I think it says here the first, so there's a couple life scripts that it talks about, which is the ways in which people with these worldviews may tend to live out. It says the first is to live out a life script that confirms the not okay. It is written unconsciously by the child. The script may call for a life of withdrawal since it is too painful to be around okay people. Thus, a person may seek stroking through make-believe and engage in an elaborate wish life if I or and when I. So I guess it's talking about I'll be okay if I do this, or I'll be okay when I do this, or I'll be okay when I achieve this, or if I get to some goal.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that a lot of us do. I know I'm guilty of it. it's like, okay, you know what? I just started pharmacy school, and maybe I'll be okay if I finish school and I get a job and I'm comfortable with the money I'm getting. Then life will be good.
We're still on the second position, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Then life will be good.
Yeah.
So it's like,
constant trying to get that stroking and approval, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a best position to be at, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I guess some of it is necessary, because I would say some athletes, like, or a lot of athletes at the top, and I think it did say this in the book, that a lot of athletes at the top are in a position of always wanting that stroke. So they always think that they're not okay, and sort of like they default to the first position, which is, I'm okay, you're okay. So they want that constant adoration and approval and appraisal of their achievements. And even if they get it, even when they get it, because of the fact that they're not okay, they still want more
and more.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So
and it becomes this bottomless pit. In the second position, the you're not okay comes from when the individual seeks stroking from another person or from an outside source. But then whatever they do, when they engage in that game of if I or when I, they never feel okay.
Yeah.
And they never get that stroking. So then they conclude, I'm not okay and you're not okay either.
of course,
Yeah. The third position is
I'm okay, you're not okay.
I'm okay, you're not okay. If I can find it, yeah.
I think I can give a.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is a quite a tricky one, actually. So I think a prime example of the I'm okay, you're not okay position would be, so I guess the key caveat here is where does that okayness come from? Yeah, where does the child eventually find that sort of like that sense of approval or that stroking? Because if you're saying I'm okay, you're not okay, that means wherever that stroking has come from, they think that source of stroking is dysfunctional. So I think you give a prime example of a child that has been abused, physically abused, emotionally neglected, who then sort of like licks his own wounds and tries to heal himself, and by so doing he becomes okay because he sort of like defaults to the position that he's sorted himself out, and he healed himself. But then the abusers or the parents or whoever was in that authority figure that actually abused them would be viewed as not okay. So that's where that I'm okay comes from, him healing himself, and then not okay, the people that have actually sort of like abused him and put him in that position. But it's quite dangerous, because a lot of criminals and psychopaths can be put in this fall under this bracket, because even though they may commit certain crimes and offenses, they see everyone else in the world as messed up or fucked up. So everyone in the world needs to get sorted out, but not them. That sort of thing. And it's a very dangerous position to be at, because there's no remorse for their actions as such. So
so basically everyone is messed up but yourself. Nice. And then there's the last position as well.
And the last position is I'm okay, you're okay. And I think
it says here, the fourth position, I'm okay, you're okay, because it is a conscious and verbal decision, can include not only an infinitely greater amount of information about the individual and others, but also the incorporation of not yet experienced possibilities which exist in the abstractions of philosophy and religion. The first three positions are based on feelings, the fourth is based on thought, faith, and the wager of action. The first three have to do with why, the fourth has to do with why not.
So from what I can remember from this, is the fourth position is more like the emancipation of all the other three positions, all the adults, I guess, come into play, whereby you're kind of analyzing the feelings and thoughts and emotions and the unconscious like part of you as such. So I'm okay, you're okay, I guess, would definitely be an adult position. So I guess the adults, there isn't any sort of like feelings, like internalized feelings from the past in relation to that, and everyone is, if you adopt the position that everyone else is okay, you kind of, you know, yeah, I guess kind of like taking them for who they are without any sort of like preconceived prejudice.
Yeah, absolutely. You're more rational and analytical rather than just caught up in feelings, which I guess the first three positions are based on.
And then there's some games over here. So there's a game that he mentioned over here, which is Mine is Better Than Yours, which is at the position that children play to momentarily relieve them from the burden of not okay. So it's like, I'm not okay. So they play a certain game of mine is better than yours. So then they feel a little bit better whilst they're in that particular position.
And I think it goes on to say that it doesn't just happen with children, but with adults as well. So we end up in our lives, buying nice cars or buying the nice house in the street or buying the nice whatever it is, and then being like, mine's still better than yours. As adults, and that kind of propagates that life position.
Yeah, it definitely feeds into adult life. I'm not okay, you're okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
Right. So those are the 4 life positions. What do you think about them so far? What were your thoughts on them and stuff like that?
I think it's not a bad frame to adopt and to sort of like think, it's alright actually. I just think that sometimes it's very difficult to put somebody in that particular position, like in one position, because I'm trying to think of an example. I was talking to a patient once. I mean, whilst I was working, and I couldn't quite figure out if the patient was in a I'm not okay, you're okay position. That's in, because the patient obviously was complaining a lot about services and felt like they weren't getting as much support from others. So automatically you think, okay, that is you would think that is a you are not okay position, and then whether or not the patient was in a I'm not okay or not I'm okay position. I was struggling to like pinpoint which one, because because it's like, okay, look guys, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. Like, it's all your fault that I'm not getting the help that I need. That sort of thing. So would that person be in a I'm okay, you're not okay? Because either saying it's not all your fault, it's all your fault. Then maybe they may think,
I think it's possible to say that I'm not okay, you're not okay, because the individual is internalizing that they need help from you, but then you're not. It's your fault that I'm not getting the help. So in a sense, to be okay, I'll be okay if you guys provided me with the help, but you guys are not okay as well.
Right. So
I'm not okay, you're not okay.
So I guess maybe that's one of the positions I probably missed up. So it could be I'm not okay, you're not okay, I guess, to an extent. But I hear you. It's interesting. It's an interesting perspective.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So moving on from that, I think there's an interesting point in here that I wanted to discuss, which was when, in terms of like our day-to-day interactions. So it's a story of a husband who comes home, and forgets where his keys are, and asks his wife, where she's hid the keys. But in the way he acts it's a parent's command, in that there's some admonition there, and it's kind of hidden, right? So the question he asks is, so he asks the wife, where did you hide the can opener? Not keys, can opener, right? So he's like, where did you hide the can opener? And he says that is a thinly veiled criticism, right? It's not like an adult-to-adult interaction, which is like, where's the can opener? Where did you last see it? Something like that. But there's a little bit of a jab in that question, and I think we all do it sometimes. We all
do. I think it's just, and like I said, I guess there's always an element of when you make that sort of like that statement. There's always an element of the parent or the child, like an internal feeling coming through that is actually taking, like, where did you hide
They can't open up.
the can opener? It's kind of like, you know, it's like there's an undertone to that. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that was quite dope.
Like depending on how the individual reacts to that situation, kind of determines how that interaction goes.
Yeah.
So if she reacts with an adult and she, you know, jokes with him and like shows him where it is, that would be a healthy way, I guess, to handle it.
Yeah.
But then if she was to react with her child as well, and she was like, I think that it says, yeah, so what's the matter with you? Are you blind or something? Like that would obviously start that would be very volatile.
Volatile, yeah.
And that start an argument.
Yeah. So basically, which is dope, you know, because like with those three life positions, the parent, the adult, and the child. If somebody, you know, responds with a parent, so a prime example of parent would be is always like an admonition or a, you know, a type of baggage or something like that. Oh, like. Like these like I think it says in there, these buses, man, they're always late. These buses. That's a parent admonition, right? And then if you responded, yeah, the buses are always late. That's a parent to parent transaction. Exactly. However, if you wanted to end that game, if there's someone that said, oh, these buses are always late, and then you said, really, I don't actually hold that opinion, the same opinion as you, then it would end that game straight away. But then the other person would be like, what's wrong with this person, man?
I guess it's a little bit of a social faux pas.
Yeah.
And that you don't carry on the game that the person is playing with you.
Exactly, you know.
So, yeah.
There's this bit right here. It says, when the parent and the child dominates, the outcome is predictable. This is one of the essential characteristics of games. There is a certain security in games. They may always turn out painfully, but it is the pain that the adult has learned to handle. When the adult is in charge of the transaction, the outcome is always predictable. There is the possibility of failure, but there's also the possibility of success. Most important, there is a possibility of change. So I think essentially you want to try and get to, you know, where the adults who obviously take over here, but so I guess people default to, you know, letting their parent and child take over because it's predictable. Like we know, kind of like know what the outcome is going to be. Because it's like, I think in the book it did mention, like, you know, somebody who held a racist sort of like view of another person. So from child, maybe they've heard their parents say racist things about, let's say, black people, let's say, for instance, or whoever. But when they grow up, in order not to trouble the parent or the child, the adult doesn't question that because it comes with a lot of like, you know, baggage. Like, oh my god, like, do you know what I mean? So they'll just leave that, and that's I guess that's a prime example of not wanting to, like, you know what the outcome is going to be if you believe in this. So I guess you just kind of leave it. Leave it at that.
As is. Yeah, definitely. You don't kind of question your archaic feelings or beliefs systems because, like you said, it's too much hard work. So you kind of just leave it as is and just So
you play. So there's a certain security in games, and you just kind of
just kind of leave it as. And I guess for transactional analysis, the ideal place to get to is the I'm okay, you're okay, and the way to do that is through, you know, exercising your adult and whatnot, and making sure that your adult is at the forefront of things when it needs to be.
Of course.
And it says here, you know, when one is able to say that is my parents or that is my child, one says it with the adult. So by the very process of questioning, one has shifted to the adult. One is able to feel immediate relief in a stressful situation simply by asking who's reacting.
So, of course.
I think you made the analogy when we were reading this to the blue skies in meditation. There's the blue skies and there's the clouds. And I guess the clouds are, you know, this passing of feelings and archaic thoughts and stuff like that. And the blue sky is always the adult, which is always present. And which should be always present and should be able to analyze.
That's a conscious sort of like, you know, part of you, I guess.
Analyze the way you react and stuff like that.
So I think that's it for today's episode. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to what you said.
No.
So before we leave, I want to leave you guys with a quick quote from Henry Bergson, which says, "The tools of the mind becomes burdening when the environment which made them necessary no longer exists." So I think that's sort of like points to the fact that when, you know, you change. I guess with the transactional analysis kind of stuff. or when you're able to sort of like, you know, adapt a new approach to doing things, the old ways of sort of like, you know, seeing things and the old lens that you sort the world through basically becomes unnecessary. It becomes redundant to an extent. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode.